Hello everyone, Peter Bom here for Australia Motorcycle News reporting about the Portimao GP Saturday, what happened today in the qualifying and in the sprint. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I'm not sure if you all recovered yet. This video is taken quite shortly after the race finished, and I'm still hyped from it because what an action we saw, what a spectacle we had. It's not always like that. Actually, most of the sprint races so far are boring. I mean, there's a lot of tension, who's going to do what, but in the end, usually the sprint races are not the best. This one was a classic, really, really good. So I don't need to tell, it was a good race because you saw it, but I'm trying to explain some of the background information, because we all see Alex Marquez winning it in a super fight with Pedro Acosta, and Marco Bezzecchi just sitting in third and couldn't do anything. A couple of things that were like, how can that happen? We see Marco Bezzecchi taking superior pole position, like really, really good. And then in the race, quickly he is third, but he should have had the best pace because we do the sprint with the same tire as in the qualifying and so on. Alex Marquez and Pedro Acosta are fighting for the win. Bezzecchi sits in third and is just like this and just happy to be following. He couldn't attack. Normally when two guys are changing position, they're not going very, very fast, and the third guy is laughing and get in the mix. Not Marco Bezzecchi today. Superior pace in qualifying and all weekend, but now when it needed to be done in the sprint, he was just happy to sit in third, couldn't do anything. That's a bit special. I also want to point again at the map some of the action where it happened, because what we saw was Alex Marquez was overtaking Pedro Acosta out of the last corner on the start-finish straight, and then Acosta was trying to get back here one time on him, two times he get back into turn 5 in, but every time again when they arrived here he was losing it again. So it looks on television, when you watch the race, it looked like Alex Marquez Ducati had just like a superior power and speed, that whatever he did, he was passing the KTMs. But then that's not so easy to say like that, because the KTM has a very, very strong engine. It's considered the second engine shortly after the Ducatis only. So what made Alex Marquez gaining so much on Pedro Acosta over the finish straight? Well, first of all, being second helps. Not as much as the Moto3, where this is just one long slipstreaming fight they have. But in MotoGP, first of all, there's the hump. Exiting the last corner, getting into fourth gear, there is a hump, like a highest place they have to, a crest where they get over it, where all the bikes get very light in the front. So you either have to close a little bit the throttle, drag a little bit the rear brake, or cross your fingers that your ECU setting is perfectly and then keep it open, and either losing too much or nearly flipping it to a Centra. Something on that crest was working better on Alex Marquez and his Honda and his riding style than on Pedro, because when he exited the last corner and was following Pedro Acosta, he did something clever over that crest and then was able to pass him. Once you are in 5th gear and 6th gear, then slipstreaming still in MotoGP can help. When it's 3rd, 4th, 2nd gear for sure, it only hinders you having slipstream, because it means you have less effective aero. So, but once you are in 5th gear, so he did it for that reason. But it was interesting because when Pedro was second behind Alex Marquez, he could not do the same thing. So it must have been the hump as well there. That was interesting. Also, why we have good fights on this track, I think also is because all the different aero they have on the bike, which is so important and has so much influence on the fight, has less influence on this track, because it's all the differences in height and all the different corners that you have to attack makes the aero important for the lap time, but less stressful in a fighting situation. And secondly, the ride height device, which is the worst thing ever happened to MotoGP in my case for trying to overtake riders, is only dropped once, and then it doesn't have a huge effect, because then first there is the hump where still the riders has to do manually a clever thing or don't do it clever enough. So the influence from aero and ride height are less on this track, and I think that's the reason we had a chance to see such beautiful riding today. Outstanding riding for today was like yesterday and today's Pedro Acosta, the way he's riding the KTM, because the KTM and the Yamaha are still a little bit old school bikes. You really have to be forceful with them, you have to be aggressive with them, you have to get out of the comfort zone from the bike and yourself to be fast. So it has to move a lot underneath you. You can miss your apex a little bit, but compensate with sliding some more, which is lovely, what we want to see. On the Ducati and on the Aprilia, that's not the case. If they are fast, they look boring. You know, you have to ride them very precisely. So I love seeing riders fast on KTMs, Hondas as well, and the Yamahas. Yeah, and then of course Acosta did a really good thing, but Yamaha, especially Fabio Quartararo, yesterday looked a disaster. Today they made such a step. His riding was so much better, and at the same time it was so much faster. Putting it on the front row in qualifying and then having P4 in the race, that's by far, that's more than Yamaha has any right of to do in here. Disappointing rider here is Miguel Oliveira. This is his home race. He won it in 2020, but somehow knowing that he's losing his right in his seat in MotoGP and going to World Superbike, but it's painful to see him. We had 2 people behind him, 2 or 3 people behind him in qualifying, 2 people only in the race in the sprint result today. That's a little bit, that's really not enough. The good thing is we also had Zarco with the Honda in the top again. We had many different manufacturers in the qualifying, and we had many different manufacturers in the sprint results. So that's all good and well. The story with Pecco Bagnaia continues. Yesterday morning was a disaster. Yesterday afternoon coming good. Today was a new situation in between. Looking okay in qualifying, starting okay in the race, being in P5 for a long time, but then it turns out he was in P5 but just too slow. He had a whole train behind him of people, and in the end they overtook him. It was really painful how he got overtaken by Fermin Aldeguer out of the last corner. He just passed him on the inside and drove there. Whoa. So, but yeah, usually Pecco is dead last or he's up front because it's all so much problem. This time was a little bit in between, but definitely not good enough there. And then Fermin Aldeguer has to be like the shock of the day for me. He comes from P11 on the grid. He takes 2 places in the last 2 corners, Zarco and Bagnaia there to finish 6 in the race. Don't forget that he's still a rookie. So yeah, that gives me like goosebump. Just like Zarco did in qualifying, put it on the second row, P7 in the race. And mostly of the lap time was done in the really scary stuff here where the Honda is good, but you still need big balls to be fast around here. Yeah, that was the excitement from today's sprint race. That's what I wanted to share with you. But you have to watch MotoGP tomorrow, all the classes, because in Moto3 you Aussie guys have Joel Kelso on pole. Is he going to do it? Maybe. Tomorrow is the 4 last chance to win that Moto3 race, and it can happen. So why not? Since he signed for the other manufacturer, for the other team for next year, he really found again some extra, and it will be so nice to see him finishing it off. Not nice is the situation with Senna AGS yesterday. All sessions good, yesterday morning, yesterday afternoon. Today, for whatever reason, he couldn't pick up the extra speed. P14 in Moto2 is just a bit too far. When you start P14 and you really find something for the next day, you can, looking at a 6-7 place maximum. Everybody else is, unless there is catastrophe, which can easily happen because the rain is never far away this weekend here, but let's hope that's not the case. The other Australian rider, Jack Miller, 2nd in qualifying 1, so that's good enough. 8th in qualifying 2, not so bad, definitely, because he did it only with 1 tire. Everybody in Q2 has 2 tires, but Jack, being already in Q1, couldn't use another tire, so he had only 1 to go out, put it on P8. Actually, all good, but something happened in the first half of the lap. He started from 8, there is a chaos, that's a jungle around you. Sometimes you win a lot by being in the jungle, but today he didn't win a lot. He lost a lot of places in the start and then he finished P14. That was it from today. From my side, can't wait for tomorrow to see the main race, and I wish you guys all the luck for Moto3, especially with Joel Kelso. Thanks for watching, see you tomorrow.